Good morning, everybody. According to the official timekeeping system of the United States of America, my Verizon cell phone, it's an Apple 15. It's about 4 weeks old now. Good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock Eastern time. And if you're watching this Social Security Talk podcast from any other time zone in the US of A, it might be a little different in time there. I'm your co-host, Marc Kiner, in my rustic sweater today. I'm based out of Blue Ash, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cincinnati. Joined by my partner wearing his, what is that, an orange shirt, Jim?
It's red.
It's red. Okay, just looks orange from my standpoint. Yeah. And Jim, where do you live?
I'm in Ross, Ohio, which is a little north of Cincinnati. It's still the greater Cincinnati area, Hamilton area, so southwest Ohio.
This Social Security Talk podcast is brought to you by the National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program. Jim and I created that program, Jim, going back to January 2013. So we're into our 11th year. We cover situational Social Security and how to ask those probing questions so clients get more money out of the Social Security system. We offer our training 3 ways. Live in person. That's going to be Cincinnati, Cleveland, Kansas City, and Chicago in 2024. We also offer live webinars and on-demand videos. For more information about our education, please go to our website, which is www.premiernssa. That is nancysamsamapple.com. Send me an email, mkiner@mypremierplan.com. Give me a direct call, 513-218-8505. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to your LinkedIn profile. Send me a connection request. Marc with the C, Kiner, Kiner. Jim, we offer the gold standard of support, don't we? Can you explain that, please?
Sure. What that means, you take our class, you become an NSSA certificate holder, and you can ask us any questions that you have about Social Security, whether it's retirement. We get questions about disability, spousal benefits, survivor benefits, just about everything that's out there. You have a question about Social Security, you can call us or email us, and we will answer those questions for you. So we like to support you as you're working with your clients if you're an advisor, so you can help your clients figure out what their situation is, what's best for them in the long run, and make sure that they understand the benefits that are available to them.
Jim, I'm a former CPA. I received my CPA license, I believe, back in 1980, and I let it go away, I think, Jim, 2020. I'm just guessing a little bit. Who knows for sure? So I did tax returns, Jim, for a little over 30 years, and I'm glad, Jim, I don't do that stuff anymore. We're taping this Social Security Talk podcast on April 5th. I know what all tax preparers are doing right now. They are sitting in front of their computers for 10 to 12 hours straight, finishing up tax returns. There's no doubt about it. Jim, though, you worked for the Social Security Administration for 10 years, not 10 years, 35 years. Please talk about your time with the SSA, please.
Yeah, that 10 years sure seemed like it was 35 years.
It was 35 years.
And I did a number of jobs while I was there. Service representative, the smiling face you see when you walk in the front door, generally helping people who have already applied for benefits and maybe they were missing checks, had change of address issues. At that time, we helped folks with their Medicare, that type of thing. Moved into the claims taking part of it, took claims for retirement, survivors, and disability insurance. Now that I did for 10 years. Moved into the management end of it and did a number of jobs, but spent the last 9 years as the district manager of the Piqua, Ohio office. Pick was about 30 miles north of Dayton, Ohio. Nice little rural community. And the point being, wherever you are, there's going to be a Social Security office fairly close. Um, and should you need to visit them, they are accessible to the general public.
Jim, I recently received a blog from SSA. They send out blogs usually, I don't know, once or twice a month or so. And this blog was kind of interesting to me. It indicated that if you want a new Social Security card or a replacement, that you can actually go online and schedule an in-office visit online instead of needing to call them. I wondered, Jim, if you were also able to schedule in-office visits to talk about a filing for Social Security benefits. So, Jim, I sent you that blog. What was your response?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not available yet. What I'm hoping is that setting this up for the cards is a way for them to test to make sure that they can put something in place similar to that and be able to do it. But currently, if you want an appointment to file an application for benefits, you still have to call the 800 number, 800-772-1213, and make an appointment that way with the folks at the 800 number. And they'll set you up for someone in the local office to call you if that's what you prefer, or you can go in and talk to them face to face. But you still have to do it through the 800 number.
Jim, I know of somebody that tried to call Social Security up at that toll-free number a couple of times because she wanted to schedule an in-office visit to talk about her benefits, and they hung up on her. She waited so long, and she was disconnected. Jim, you also belong to a Facebook group for Social Security managers or employees. Which one is it?
It's retired and current employees.
Okay.
It's not just managers, but all
Got it.
employees.
Anything going on there that you think you'd like to share with our podcast audience?
It's been a little quiet lately. Pretty much new members, folks retiring, coming on, and joining. There are some that are still working there.
Okay.
A few people have passed away. Always sad to see that, but they haven't really talked about a whole lot. Although some talk about the commissioner's recent discussion with Congress, and what he's telling Congress he wants to do is add more employees. So maybe when you do call the 800 number, eventually there'll be enough folks answering the phone. You only have to wait 4 hours instead of 6 or something. But, it'll be a lot quicker response from them. But not only the folks in at the 800 number, but folks in the local offices, folks in the DDS. Now the DDS is the Disability Determination Services. And it takes quite a while normally to get a disability decision. I talked to someone, I believe they were in Texas, and they were telling me that it can take up to a year to get a disability decision. So they're looking for more folks to be more responsive to the general public. So hopefully they will do that. Some talk about overpayments and making adjustments there instead of holding back somebody's full check. They'll hold back a percentage of it to recover overpayments, that type of thing. So we'll see. But that's a new commissioner. It's the same stuff that I always saw with new commissioners. They always come in with great ideas. How many of them get taken care of? I'll be happy if they just get the folks hired and cut down on the wait time people have to get things done.
Jim, and the new commissioner did send out like a release, and he indicated, and I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, what can I say? There are 8 million new Social Security recipients added for 2023, 8 million more. So I think the total, Jim, is about 66 million, 65 million people receiving monthly checks or deposits. 2 of those people are right here on today's Social Security Talk podcast. And Jim, one thing I also read is that SSA employs 60,000 people. I thought when you worked there, the number is closer to the mid 80s, 85,000, let's just say. Could they have really kind of reduced their staffing by 25,000 people? since you left?
It's possible because they've been down there before. There was a time in the 80s that we were down to 60 some thousand people.
Oh.
And then they hire folks, and then folks end up leaving or retiring. And, they don't have the handle on people like they used to. When I worked there,
not at all.
I was under the old civil service program. So if you decided to leave the federal government and go out into private industry, you had to think about that because you were giving up your civil service pension and going into Social Security. Well, starting in 1983, folks hired with the federal government now pay into Social Security. That's good for the Social Security program in the respect that they're getting more money being deposited into the trust funds. But then that means also more people will be drawing from it. But it also means you have a little more leeway to come and go as you please. So I have seen a lot more people coming and going than we used to see. So it very well could be that way.
And also one person that recently joined our program used to work with SSA, and he indicated that during the pandemic, many representatives left. Is that correct, Jim? Did you hear that too?
Well, not so much during the pandemic, but when the pandemic was over and they wanted them to come back to work in the office. They were working at home.
Okay.
They seem to like that. And they want some sort of, I guess, hybrid case where they'll work in the office some days a week and at home maybe 2 days a week in the office and 3 at home or vice versa. But they did lose a lot when they started asking people to come back.
If you're an advisor and you want to connect with baby boomers, please attend our Social Security educational program, the National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program. After you take a training, you pass our assessment, you will earn the NSSA certificate. And you can put NSSA after your name. You can indicate you are a National Social Security Advisor certificate holder, as long as your compliance department allows you to do so. Jim, I get that question all the time from advisors. Can they use NSS after the name? I say, yes, if your compliance department allows you to do so, Jim. Definitely.
And you could unless you live in Ohio, you could get a license plate that says NSSA on it.
You can get NSSA 1 if you live in Ohio.
The reason you can't in Ohio is because Marc already took that one. But you could get NSSA 1, 2, 3, whatever number you wanted. But that would be one way of advertising, I suppose.
And if you live in another state than Ohio and you do have our certificate, put NSSA on your license plate, and I will and send us a picture of that, and I'll publicize it. Jim, I want to talk a bit about situational Social Security during today's podcast. I want to emphasize WEP and GPO because we just get so many questions on that issue, Jim. But before I do, I just want to read off in my mind what the different situations are. Jim, if I miss any, please let me know.
Sure.
So you may be single, may be married with wide age differences versus narrow age differences. You may have been a public employee where WEP and GPO will apply. Quite possibly your surviving spouse. You may be a divorced individual, collect off of your ex-spouse. There's an opportunity to collect 6 months of retroactive benefits if you're over your full retirement age. But the 6-month time period, Jim, as you know, probably better than I do, cannot precede your full retirement age. And of course, what is your full retirement age, folks? Where if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. Jim, I was born in 1956. I'm 68 now. What's my full retirement age?
Yeah, your full retirement age would be 66 and 4 months.
I applied for my benefits to begin. I'm single. You need to know that. So I applied for my benefits to begin at my full retirement age, which was June of 2022. I turned 62 in February of 2018. I didn't want to begin benefits at that point, I wanted to wait and collect 100% of my benefit amount at my full retirement age. So I applied on February 1st of 2022 for my benefits to begin the month I turned full retirement age, which was June of 2022. So, Jim, what Wednesday do I wake up in the morning and I have an extra skip and step in my step?
Well, that's
Well, you know
based
what I
on,
mean.
I know what you mean. That's based on your day of birth. People receive their benefits on the second, third, or fourth Wednesday. And if your birthday is between the 11th and the 20th, which yours is, then your payday is the third Wednesday of each month. So the third Wednesday of each month, you have that extra skip in your step. Hopefully, you don't skip down the steps. That could be painful. But that's when you receive the deposit in your bank account.
Of course, Jim, everybody does know that back on January 12th, I was in Evansville attending my son's wedding. It was raining outside. I was going to a popcorn place, and I ran and I slipped on the wet mat, and I broke a bone in my foot. So, Jim, it's been, I guess, almost 3 months, a week away from 3 months. I'm definitely getting a lot better. I still have a little discomfort in my foot, but I've learned my lesson. No running. It's not worth it. I don't need to fall anymore, believe me. So, Jim, I'm single, and I began my benefits my full retirement age month. There's no reason in my mind to have waited until age 70. Sure, I would have received 8% more per year for delayed retirement credits. But, Jim, life isn't guaranteed, is it?
No, it sure isn't. And a couple things you keep in mind. How long does it take you to make up that money if you do wait till age 70? Because you're giving up benefits anywhere from 3 to 4 years. It depends on your full retirement age. You're giving up a benefit to get a higher benefit later on. But, you do go without the income. It takes you about 12 and a half years or about age 82 and a half. Now, according to the Social Security Administration, you're still doing well in that situation because the average survival rate for a male in his 60s is a little over age 84 and a female a little past age 87. And according to the Social Security Administration, half of the people in their 60s will live to their upper 80s, early 90s. And a quarter of those folks will live to 95 or older. But as you mentioned, they don't tell us who that is. So there's no guarantee who that's going to be. And you have to take that into consideration. Now, sometimes if someone is married and they're looking at a survivor benefit for their surviving spouse, then it may be a little more of a different situation and something they would want to take into account. But again, everybody's situation is different.
Jim, I was talking to an advisor yesterday, and that was his exact situation, kind of. 10-year difference between him and his wife. He's probably 65 or 6. I'm not certain. And he was wondering, should he wait to age 70? Should he claim it at his full retirement age? And we talked about the impact on the widow benefit upon his passing. Unfortunately, he does have a form of cancer whereby he's got maybe a 2-year lifespan. And so I kind of indicated the longer he could wait, the more his wife would get upon his death. Of course, though, if she remarries before turning age 60, her widow benefit goes away, doesn't it, Jim?
Sure does. You can't be remarried and receive the survivor benefit unless that remarriage took place after you attain age 60.
We didn't talk about that issue, but we all know that is something you need to consider. Jim, WEP and GPO. So if you're working with the client and the client worked for the government, state, local, county government, or a federal employee hired before 1984, they may be subject to either or both of these provisions. Government pension offset, which I call grumpy partner offsets, or GPO, or WEP, windfall elimination provision. So WEP applies And Jim, we don't need to get into the detail here because this is only a podcast, but WEP applies if you're looking for uh, a social security benefit off of your own work history along with a government pension. Jim, when does GPO apply or grumpy partner offset?
Yeah, the grumpy partner offset, government pension offset's the official name. That applies if you're going to draw off of a spouse, ex-spouse, or a deceased spouse. And people confuse these all the time. They want to say, well, my spouse is going to draw benefits, so how much will WEP affect her or his benefit? And that's not correct. It's government pension offset. So keep in mind, WEP applies, as you said, to your own retirement. You've worked, you've earned enough credits under Social Security to be eligible for your retirement benefit, and your government pension will reduce the amount of your Social Security benefit. Never to zero, but it will reduce it. Whereas government pension offset applies when you're eligible off of somebody else's work record as a spouse, ex-spouse, surviving spouse. And in those situations, government pension offset can and sometimes oftentimes do reduces that benefit to zero. So it can take that one completely away.
And the maximum reduction, generally, if you're subject to windfall elimination provision, is $587. That's for 2024. That amount, is that the right figure? 587, Jim?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So that figure will change each year, but for 2024, generally, that would be the maximum reduction to your Social Security benefit statement, benefit amount. Jim, does the Social Security benefit statement reflect any WEP or GPO reduction figures?
Yeah, it does not, because they don't know that you're going to be eligible for a pension, or even if you are, how much it would be. So when you receive your Social Security benefit statement, it's strictly based on your Social Security earnings and what you would be eligible for based off of those earnings under your Social Security covered employment.
Jim, when I'm talking to somebody who is subject to either one of these provisions, I want to let the folks out there that are listening to our podcast know what information that we require. Number one will be both spouses, if it applies, both spouses' Social Security benefit statement. Number two, for somebody that's looking for their own Social Security benefits and also a public employee pension, we also need the actual earnings history of the individual. Now, Jim, this is a separate document from the statement, right?
That's correct. The benefit statement now groups years of earnings together, generally in 10-year groups, and you can't figure out what your windfall elimination provision effect is going to be without each individual year. So the benefit statement, we do need that. It's good to have. It has a lot of good information. But that earnings statement will show each year individually. So it's still available to folks. You have to have your online account created through ssa.gov, but you can get each year individually, and then we can figure out the windfall, or you can even go on the Social Security website and they have a windfall elimination provision calculator. And you would just add in all of your years of earnings under Social Security and the amount of pension you expect to receive, and they'll do that calculation for you.
And additionally, if you are subject to the government pension offset or the grumpy partner offset, and you're looking to receive a Social Security benefit off of your spouse, that could be a current spouse, an ex-spouse, or off of a deceased spouse. We also need information on the amount of public employee pension that you are eligible to receive. So usually that's kind of a letter from the government telling us how much that benefit may be either right away or into the future.
And that's the gross amount. That's before any deductions for taxes, health insurance, that type of thing.
And usually it takes one or two emails to get exactly what we need. But eventually, Jim, we do receive it. There's no doubt about it. So, Jim, we're kind of coming up upon the bewitching hour. And so it's kind of time to wind down wind down our podcast, I want to offer something to our listeners. We recently revised our Make a Plan Social Security checklist for the 2024 version. If you'd like to have a copy, just send me an email. That's mkiner, Kiner, at mypremierplan.com, and I'll send you an email. Jim, we talked about single folks. We talked about public employees during today's podcast. Next time we get together, we'll talk maybe one or two of the other situational Social Security areas like spousal benefits, ex-spouse, surviving spouses. Do you have a preference?
It doesn't matter because we need to talk about them all eventually. People need to keep in mind their situation dictates what ends up being best for them. It's not what your neighbor did. That's not going to be best for you. It's not what your cousin or your friends have done. You want to look at the situation that you have, what's out there, what's going to affect your payment. Are you married? Are you divorced? Do you have a deceased spouse? Do you have children eligible? We're going to look at all of that. So everybody's situation is different, and eventually we'll cover them all.
You've been listening to You've been listening to the Social Security Talk podcast by the co-founders of the National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program, Marc Kiner and Jim Blair. To learn more about our educational class, please go to our website, premiernssa.com. That's Nancy Sam Apple. Send me an email. Give me a buzz. 513-218-8505. And also, if you're looking for a Social Security consultation, because we do those also, just reach out to me and I will let you know the information that we need to do a consultation for you. Our fee to do a consultation is $545, and that includes a written report prepared by Jim Blair, a consultation of Jim Blair, follow-up questions, and we'll help you file for benefits online. Jim, any final comments you'd like to make?
Just remember, don't jump into Social Security without making a plan. We plan for everything. You should plan for this because you're going to receive it the rest of your life. What you do affects your benefit going forward. Could also affect your survivor. If someone survives you, what their benefit is going forward. So make that plan and make sure you're doing what's best for you.
Thank you, Jim. This now ends the Social Security Talk podcast for the month of March 2024.
It's April.
The month of April 2024. Until next time, bye, everybody.
Bye.